Look at boomers today. The ones that are still here are the people who grew up in the years since Paul Harvey's warning about the devil, and everything he said went unheeded. Why would they listen anyway? They were too busy rebelling against their parents and their grandparents. Generations that were dumb enough to buy the magic bullet theory, by the way. And yet, the boomers demonstrated to the entire world their uncanny ability to do things even worse than their predecessors. The sexual revolution of the 1960s and the rise of pornography ensured that the next generations would grow up with more sensuality, more lust, and more sexual sin. And look where we are today. Drag queens can get an audience with 5-year-olds. Grown adults walk around naked in front of little kids at parades. And there are even some people who refer to child molesters as minor attracted persons. And boomers raised these degenerates. Boomers did more drugs than any generation in history. If they could smoke something or take a pill to get high, they would flock to it. How many millions of them died doing that? When it came time to become actual adults, the boomers were so wrapped up in various distractions and addictions while struggling to raise their families that they sat idly by as President Reagan broke up the unions in the 1980s, which absolutely shattered the strength of America's middle class. And now look around and see how many boomers want to talk down to their adult children and grandchildren about student loan forgiveness, or about how a job at McDonald's, or Target, or Best Buy, or UPS was never meant to support a family. It's hilarious. That wicked and corrupt generation lived their lives fully devoted to their fleshly, carnal desires, lives characterized by the devil's eyes. And they always voted their wallet. The ever-decreasing number of boomers who had an interest in religion sat idly by as America's pulpits continued to fall one by one, like dominoes, in the wake of the Johnson Amendment and 501c3 incorporation. And not only did they fail to stop that evil, they would go on to openly embrace the rise of megachurches and all sorts of false doctrine. These are the people who bought the lies of the power of positive thinking and a purpose-driven life. Hook, line, and sinker, because they had the devil's eyes. They failed miserably in their marriages and in raising their families, and produced generations of people who grew up in single-parent households or with blended families. They sat idly by as crime skyrocketed and wealth disappeared. And like drooling zombies, they allowed one stupid thing after another, decade after decade, to dominate their time, their thoughts, and their money. And instead of raising children who would turn out to be critically thinking, productive adults with a heart for God, and who had compassion for their fellow man, they let Nintendo and Sega, Vince McMahon and Indiana Jones, Kermit the Frog and Beavis and Butthead do all their parenting for them so that they could pop one more Vicodin and explore one more part of their sexuality before their marriages imploded. And now, as the certainty of death is knocking on their door, they desperately cling to hope of redemption from their lifetime of sin and loose living. And they've looked back at their lives and they've realized what kind of mess they've led us to in America. And here's the funniest part of the boomer circus. They want Donald Trump, of all people, to wave a magic wand and drain the swamp and make decades of their poor choices and their servitude to Lucifer magically disappear and make America great again. They've spent their entire lives voting their wallets, and why should their golden years be any different? And here's the thing. Somewhere in the midst of this circus is a legitimate concern about the rise of the Antichrist and the mark of the beast.